For those of you who are still standing at this point, we will have seats for you. But I want to thank all of you for coming to Pitt State's first ever Groundhog's Day Literary Festival. By coincidence, it's also the same date as the 7th annual faculty reading. And we really do appreciate all of you being here. It's great to see such a big crowd for our first reading of the semester. This is the first spring event in the Distinguished Visiting Writers Series, and we do want to thank all those involved with Distinguishing Visiting Writers. Also, we thank the English Department and the Student Fee Council for supporting these events. Especially, I want to thank some individual folks who have helped organize and publicize this event. Laura Washburn, our Director of Creative Writing, Jamie McDaniel, Jeremy Johnson, Shannon Spear, and anyone else I'm forgetting who has helped out in any way. Lori Baker Martin, who will also be reading in addition to helping. I do want to mention that there are two more events in the Distinguished Visiting Writer Series coming up this semester. The poet Elizabeth Bradfield, we're very much looking forward to hearing on March 29th. And the fiction writer Lowell Mick White from down in Texas will be coming on April 19th. And some of you may know that Mick White is going to be joining the PSU faculty next fall, that he'll be here as a guest writer for this spring. Before we get to some introductory things for our two writers, I want to remind you to please turn off cell phones at this point. Like now, if you haven't done it already. And quite seriously, we do ask you to refrain from texting, from checking messages, from surfing the internet during the reading. It is distracting for other members of the audience. And I also want to take just a moment to thank our two featured faculty writers this evening, Lizanne Minerva and Lori Baker Martin. Both have long-standing connections to Pitt State, but this year they've stepped into a new role with us in the English department. They joined our faculty under difficult circumstances, stepping in to fill the shoes of our friend and colleague Karen Stoltz, who passed away this last year. Happily, though, Lori and Lizanne have made very positive contributions to the English department and to our students. And on a personal note, I've really enjoyed getting to know them, not only as reliable co-workers, but as hardworking colleagues and as generous, talented friends. They were also very good sports when I threatened to introduce them as the Groundhog Girls. So, thank you, Lori and Lizanne. Our first reader will be Lizanne Minerva. Originally from Tallahassee, Florida, Lizanne Minerva was the recipient of the Ernest Hemingway Fellowship in Fiction at Indiana University. That's where she earned her Master of Fine Arts degree in creative writing back in 1992. Later, she earned a PhD in creative writing at Florida State University. Her short stories have appeared in major literary journals such as Puerto del Sol, Hayden's Ferry Review, Beloit Fiction Journal, and Appalachia Quarterly. She's currently working on a collection of short stories about mothers and children. Sometimes the best things to know about a writer come from their fellow writers, and I want to read a little bit written about Lizanne's work from our colleague, the novelist Kathy DeGrave. Kathy says that Lizanne's stories present, quote, an incisive depiction of women's lives in middle-class America. Lizanne's characters are spunky and humorous. We laugh with them as they reveal their flaws. We recognize these women and sympathize with the hard choices they have to make every day. Our other reader tonight, Lori Baker Martin, says that Lizanne's stories are full of, quote, wit and humor and heart. I read her stories and I want to hang out with her characters, have a cup of tea, listen to them talk. Now all of us are going to sit back, get comfortable, and let Lizanne Minerva talk, and let her characters talk. So please help me to welcome her.
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to read a story called The View from the Corner, and just a little bit about this. It's what I think of as a what-if story. This summer, my daughter, who was 8 at the time, came and told me something that she had witnessed. And I thought it was rather disturbing. And over the next few days, the kids in the neighborhood talked about it. And I was even more disturbed because they treated it sort of casually. So I was kind of wanted to fill in the blanks for myself. And so this is a story about me kind of trying to figure out, well, what did happen here? And how did people actually feel? And a couple of, there are space breaks. So if I stop and I look like I've lost my place, it's just a space break. And sometimes when I read dialogue, I give the characters a little bit of voice, and I don't know if frighten you, so sometimes I want to do that. It's not my voice. The View from the Corner. Taylor Keller didn't know the boy in the yard across the street. He looked middle school age, with a frazzle of dyed black hair that fell in his eyes. He wore a black t-shirt with a screaming devil face on it. 5 minutes ago, he had marched up to the front door of the house across from the Kellers, banged loudly and hollered, "Harley!" Something about him, maybe the chain hanging from his belt loop for no good reason, led Taylor to call the other girls over. By then, the boy had run around to a window, pounded on the frame, and yelled Harley's name again. The house didn't blink. Since then, the boy had been crouched in front of Harley's house, penknife in fist, scratching words into the cracked acorn-strewn sidewalk. He looked peaceful as he grew intent on digging into the surface. "I bet he's the boyfriend," Taylor, the younger Keller girl, said quietly, "the one who doesn't like her anymore." 4 girls perched on the Keller's front steps, dainty as teacups. They were the Keller sisters, Morgan and Taylor, and the twins from next door, Robin and Ramona. The Keller's mother had shooed them outside to play while she prepared rum balls for her book club meeting. She did give each girl a chicken salad finger sandwich on puffy white bread, crust sliced off. The twins, whose parents never bought white bread, had eaten theirs very slowly. The girls didn't need jackets on such a mild October day, but they huddled close as they studied the boy. He was sort of cute, in a loose shirt-tail, grungy older boy way. Harley had told them that she loved him. She thought they would eventually get married. "You fucking bitch," the boy said, standing. "I'm coming back." The twins' bodies were pressed together from shoulder to ankle. "Fucking," repeated Ramona, the smaller twin. She'd heard the word once or twice before and was trying to make sense of it. Like farting? Something you weren't supposed to say or do. The boy gave the word a fun, spiky feel when he shouted it. Bitch, she knew. The boy stomped off, walking away from the Keller's house, toward the intersection with Cherry. The girls sat for a moment. Then Morgan, the oldest of the 4, said, "I know. Let's play Mad Boyfriend. Who wants to be the boy?" Taylor wrote a list on a pad of lavender-lined paper, just as her mother had asked. Her letters were perfectly rounded and legible, unlike her older sister's. "Cookies," she wrote. "Ice cream cake. Hot chocolate. Fudge by itself." With her feet hooked into the bar stool rung, she was perfectly positioned to watch her mother assemble dinner and perhaps snag a few potato chips. She had jotted 4 items down and had 1 to go on the list of things she loved. "Aren't you done?" her mother asked, looking up from the raw chicken in the sink. "Wait a minute." Taylor licked her pencil eraser, deep in thought, and grimaced. It tasted like an old baby doll. She looked again to make sure. Yep, baby doll. "Put it in my inbox and scram," her mother said. "I'll look at it later." "Can't I just read it to you? Please, Mommy. Then you can tell me if it's right." "That wasn't the deal, sweet pea." Taylor's mother, Jennifer, wiped her hands on a paper towel. Taylor was often transfixed by her mother. She looked cartoon perfect, with her curly black hair, her Bambi eyes, her little heart mouth. Taylor resembled the other side of the family, bigger, thicker, and paler. If only her mother would let her remain in the kitchen forever, learning how to be like her. "I got more," Taylor said. She wrote, "Snacks plus TV. Snuggles." "Get it all down, sister," Jennifer said. "The next time you sass me like that in public, you start losing what you love." Taylor widened her eyes and cocked her head in a way that used to make her mother melt. This time, her mother blew air at her, or maybe tried to get a stray curl out of her eyes. Either way, she did not appear to be charmed. Taylor slid off the bar stool, frowning, and rounded the corner to stand closer to her mother. Jennifer dipped chicken thighs in egg and rolled them in a crushed cereal and potato chip mix, her own recipe. For herself and her husband, she added a pinch of cayenne. The family gobbled down oven-baked thighs every other Thursday. It was an easy night for Jennifer. Slide the chicken in the oven, bust open a bag salad, defrost some garlic bread, and Jennifer was set to take a nice, long Facebook break. Pounding the potato chips into crumbs had been satisfying, given the afternoon Jennifer had had with Taylor, who was usually her people-pleaser. All that fuss in the store over a candy bar, an actual fall-on-the-floor tantrum with tears and screaming and snot, the whole damn Broadway show. You couldn't swat your child in Walmart, and Jennifer averted her eyes when people did, but you could certainly whisper a few well-placed threats. Are we telling Daddy? Taylor's eyes were watery. Jennifer slid the baking sheet into the oven. That's up to me. Go outside now. The car door opened with whip-like alacrity, and the boys sprang out. The car engine growled as if in heat. Robin, the dominant twin, noticed the boy first, and 3 of the girls in the Kellers' front yard ran into the corner, just behind the rose bush. Taylor had waited forever for her turn to redecorate Barbie's dream house, and she did not budge from the front steps. Get out here, the boy hollered at the door. I'm not leaving, bitch. Robin held her twin sister's hand firmly, anchoring her to the moment. Just behind the twins, Morgan exhaled Oreo breath on Robin's neck, and Robin could feel her preparing to use them as camouflage. Taylor finally abandoned the dollhouse on the porch and dashed over, not wanting to be left out. The girls had watched this drama like a TV show. The first installment had been 2 weeks ago, when 12-year-old Harley came over to cry about her boyfriend troubles. They didn't know her well. They knew her younger sister, Salem, who went to Catholic school, but sometimes played with them in the yard. Morgan had kept Harley talking, glorying in the fact that she finally had company who was on her level, not a little kid like the twins or Taylor. Next to been the day the boy came over, and no one answered the door. Later, the 4 girls crossed the street to peer at the words carved into the sidewalk. Bitch, kill you. Reading the words, Ramona felt as if she had begun a somersault and remained upside down. And now this, the boy was back. He didn't acknowledge his audience, nor had the driver of the car, a boy who looked just a little older. The car engine purred and purred, then hiccuped. Ramona was shuddering and holding Robin's hand too hard. Ramona didn't do well with anything scary, as Robin knew. The opening of Nemo had soured Ramona on movies until she was 5. It had always been Robin's job to look out for her sister. That was why the school had let them remain in the same class, even though twins were usually split up. Ramona did everything a little bit slower than Robin did. In fact, she was slower than most kids. The para sat right beside her, or led her to the special classroom for reading and math. Robin hated seeing her sister leave with the stupid kids and tried to teach her at home sometimes. Maybe we should tell, Robin said to Morgan, squeezing Ramona's sweaty hand. Shut up. Morgan flicked Robin with the back of her fingers. Don't ruin it for all of us. Jennifer slid her secret from the back of the refrigerator, hidden in a produce bag with pictures of happy vegetables. Her neighbor, Kim, sat at a bar stool overlooking the kitchen. Kim would probably be all giddy up and go if Jennifer pulled out an actual head of lettuce. No, Jennifer told herself, stop it. I'm going to make nice. After all, the kids were together constantly. Their mothers had to have some kind of relationship. It's untouched, Jennifer said. It's fudge from the mall. Should we just split it down the middle now? I'm not even pretending it's going back in. I'll have some, Kim said. Just a little, though. You are too funny, Jennifer said. I'm not letting those kids in. Live it up. Jennifer cut Kim a small chunk and pushed it toward her on a salad plate. She helped herself to a healthy-sized piece. When the twins had moved in next door, Jennifer had been delighted to see another stay-at-home mom on the block and tried to befriend Kim. And it seemed like a big deal. Jennifer got along with people. She'd been room mother for Morgan or Taylor every year since preschool. She organized the summer block party. She was on Faith Presbyterian's Helping Hands Committee. She was a good person to know, damn it. But Kim wasn't the friendly type. She had a low-pitched voice like a smoker, yet clearly wasn't. The only makeup she wore was lipstick, a somber Cabernet shade. But she dressed for an office job in button-down tops, ethnic jewelry, slacks. Obviously, someone else cleaned her toilets. She had yet to decorate for any holiday. Well, they were Jewish. Maybe that explained the decoration thing, but Jennifer had friends of all types, and she didn't think this was a faith issue. Kim struck her as depressed or anemic or something. So fudge, what the hell? Who didn't like fudge? Maybe Kim. Jennifer watched her neighbor nibble like it was rabbit food. I should have known, Jennifer thought. Early on, Jennifer had invited Kim to join the neighborhood book club. Kim had arrived with her book marked up like she wanted the Good Student Award. When discussion shifted to the real topics, the shopping center going up in the next town, the rumors about Taylor's teacher and the PE coach, both women, Kim had settled back in her chair, flipping pages. She could have pretended to care. The next day, Jennifer chatted with Kim while they waited for their children outside the main school entrance. The book club isn't really about the books, Jennifer admitted. I got that, Kim said dryly. Now it was October, Halloween approaching again, and Jennifer had settled into their arrangement. They weren't friends, or not friends, but something in between. Jennifer considered brewing a fresh pot of coffee. She had a long night ahead, folding 4 loads of laundry, cutting out paper jack-o'-lanterns to laminate for Taylor's class. Better not to fix coffee, though. Kim might get talky, as she had one time, going on in her Xanaxy voice about how much she missed St. Louis. It had been a year. Get over it, Jennifer thought. The children's voices had quieted then, and then Jennifer heard that high, squealy laugh. Salem. She should check on them in a minute. She could remember when the house across the street had been the Hollanders' place. The Hollanders put in a bed of pink geraniums every spring and burgundy mums in the fall. Then the house went rental. Harley and Salem's family was the latest in an array of people to add police presence to the formerly quiet block. All of the houses to the east of it had become rentals in the past 10 years, a series of dominoes running down Hemlock Street from Oak to the intersection with Cherry. This is really good, Kim said. Maybe another sliver? Jennifer smiled as she pushed the plate with a fudge and knife toward Kim. So, what's happening outside? Kim leaned back on her stool so she could glance out the front window. They're by the rose bush, hatching a plan for world domination, I think. Alrighty then. I'm going to hit the screen lock, just in case. The boy was on her so fast that no one remembered how it happened. One minute, Harley had appeared at the front door in a tank top and pajama bottoms with lucky green clovers, scratching her head as if she had just woken up. The next, she was on the grass with a boy on top of her, punching her in the face. They were both screaming. She kept trying to roll over and cover her face, but he had pinned her arms back at the wrists with one hand. Ramona hugged Robin's arm, and Taylor kept repeating, oh my God, in a soft voice. Then Harley's mother burst through the door with her cell in one hand, her hoarse voice surprisingly loud. Little prick, I called 911. The car engine revved again, a signal perhaps, and the boy leaped off Harley. The car was in motion before the boyfriend had shut the door. It fishtailed around the corner. Whoa, said Morgan, that was epic. Only then did Robin notice that the neighbors who lived beside Harley were also in their yards. The stay-at-home dad, the older woman who knitted on her porch. Harley's mother was practically spitting into her cell phone as she paced in the yard. Yeah, he's gone. What do you think? I didn't see the freaking license plate, but I know who he is and I know where he lives. What more do you want? The mother paused to hand Harley a bag of frozen egg rolls. Harley held it over her face. Then she pulled her knees up to her chest, a snail retracting. Her nose was bleeding. Her lip looked split. Strands of hair caught in the blood on her cheek. Though she faced the girl, she wasn't looking at them. Or maybe she was. One of her eyes was swelling shut. A squad car appeared at the next corner, cruising quickly but without a siren. Morgan pushed the girls by the shoulders. To the lawn furniture and beyond, Morgan commanded. As the girls dashed into the backyard, Taylor watched her older sister for clues. Nothing like this had ever happened to them, and Taylor didn't know how to feel. Her heart was beating like a dance song, and she wasn't sure if she was thrilled or halfway to barfing. Sit in a circle, okay? Morgan ordered breathlessly. Pretend we're playing telephone. We didn't see anything, okay? At 9½, Morgan already wore a training bra and understood more about adults than she had a year ago. She knew when to act innocent, when to be invisible. She also knew a lot about makeup and hair straightening. Taylor trusted Morgan to take charge in strange situations. Ramona kept giving her twin tearful glances, and Robin shook her head. They would see it through. They weren't babies. The male officer spoke with Harley's mother. The female officer knelt beside Harley to talk with her. Harley's mother rarely came outside, and the girls in the Keller's yard were fascinated by her see-through pink robe over a black bra and leggings, her fuzzy Ellen slippers. Not only did she not look like a mom, it was 4 in the afternoon. The mother led the officer to the sidewalk and showed him the words. He snapped a picture with his phone. Poor Harley, said Morgan. I wonder if she's going to look the same. She'll probably need plastic surgery, Taylor said knowledgeably. Robin kept her knee pressed firmly against Ramona's. She didn't understand why all the bravery had been planted in her, and her sister had none. They were in vitro babies, and Robin sometimes imagined a man in a lab divvying up their qualities before putting the stuff back in her mother. Courage for this one, night terrors for that one. And oh boy, after this, Ramona would be up all night, chattering in her nutball way. The male officer strode over to the neighbor's yard, where he addressed the stay-at-home dad and the knitting woman. Both of them spoke at length, awoken from their afternoon daze by the sudden eruption of activity. Taylor noticed Harley's younger sister's face in the window, and she waved hesitantly. The sister, Salem, waved back and disappeared. A minute later, Salem was sprinting across the street to join the other girls. She wore her Catholic school uniform, but no socks or shoes. At 7, she was tiny and sprightly. "Did you see? Did you see?" Salem said breathlessly. Morgan gave the other girls a stern look. "What did you see?" "We saw," Robin said, defying Morgan. "We were right there on the corner." "The cops are going to take him to prison, aren't they?" Taylor cried. "Kids go to juvie, not prison," Salem said. "Whatever," Taylor said. "He's going to kid prison then." "He's strong," Morgan said. "Harley didn't have a chance. Does she still like him?" Salem nodded her head solemnly. "She looks really hurt," Ramona said quietly. "Is she in the hospital?" "Nah," Salem answered. "My mom said no. They're going to take pictures instead." Ramona hugged her stomach, a gagging sensation tickling the back of her throat. She couldn't stop imagining that moment when Harley was on the ground and couldn't get up. The sound of the Kellers' front door opening froze the children in place. When the twins' mother walked out, they forgot to pretend to play. Kim had that effect on people. It was, Taylor thought, like having your teacher tap you on the shoulder when you didn't know she was there. "Hi, Kim," Morgan sang out loudly. "Hello," Kim said. "Girls, I want you inside in 10 minutes. You have chores to do." Then, rather than going inside, Kim remained on the steps, leaning her back against her house, staring up as if the sky were full of dinner recipes. Robin frowned. The Kellers' mother was young and pretty and upbeat, while the twins' mother was 50. It hadn't been a big deal in St. Louis, but here she stood out like a pimple. Robin was beginning to see that her mother didn't know how to act in public. A tug of war between love and shame stole Robin's appetite for whatever healthy glop her mother would prepare. Taylor squinched up her face. "You always have chores. You're like slaves." Robin shrugged. "You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit." Kim called to her daughters after she noticed that the scrappy little girl from across the street had appeared in the Kellers' yard. She had meant to discuss that family with Jennifer again, but they ended up talking about Halloween decorations and whether Taylor's teacher was a lesbian. Jennifer was funny and snappy and fond of information. She was also, after a year, Kim's one friend in the area, or as close as anyone came to being a friend. Kim just couldn't figure out how to move beyond idle chat. What did they have to talk about that mattered besides the girls? Kim wished she could care about the gossip or the book club, but she was terrible at faking interest. Who cared if Taylor's teacher was gay, honestly? Jennifer's enthusiasm seemed boundless, though. In a cheerful way, she had told Kim she suspected Salem had given her girls lice last fall. Yet she fed Salem snacks and sent her home with bags of clothes. At that, Kim felt a twinge of guilt. After all, it wasn't Salem's fault that she was growing up in that household, and at least Jennifer did something positive. Whatever the story was, Kim wanted to disentangle Salem from her daughter's lives. Adults came and left at that house at odd hours. The children were never dressed for the season, flip-flops in winter, long sleeves in summer. Salem was always filthy. Once, Kim had asked her to leave the yard because she had picked her nose and wiped it on Ramona, and Ramona had panicked. Morgan imitated Ramona's fit in a way that almost sent Kim screaming into the yard, like the freak she'd become in this community. She hadn't, of course. Kim had tried to explain herself to Jennifer once, but it had come out as a fugue. "We went through our savings, 3 failed rounds of IVF. I used to be a segment producer for morning radio. The girls went to Hebrew school. We had friends," Kim had said. She watched a haze descend over Jennifer. Boring. A stranger's misery was boring. Kim understood that. "Mom, we'll be there in a minute," Robin yelled. "You don't have to stare at us." Yes, 5 minutes, Kim said absently. Morgan made a motion that Kim thought was a whip cracking. This move had been a mistake. Even the normal kids were a trial. That night, 2 houses on Oak Street throbbed with energy. Taylor chased Morgan around the upstairs and threw a pink princess stapler at her head, hitting her big sister in the ear. Morgan screamed in a way she hadn't in years. It hadn't hurt that much, Morgan would later admit to herself, but she was furious that Taylor no longer feared her. Jennifer had gathered her weeping older daughter into her lap, trying to contain that much half-grown child without limbs spilling over. "What is wrong with you?" she shouted at Taylor. "What the hell is your problem?" Taylor, tears salting every breath, had no answer. "The top 3 things you love are gone," Jennifer said. "I hope you're happy with yourself. Go take a bath." "I need help, Mommy," Taylor said, widening her eyes. "Ask your father." Next door, Robin could not explain why Ramona was sitting on the floor rocking back and forth and not talking. No, nothing had happened. Nothing unusual. Just playing telephone and tag and taking turns setting up Barbie's dream house. Maybe Ramona was worried about the spelling test on Friday? "That's it," Kim said to her husband when they were both in the kitchen. "Salem is not allowed in our yard. If she comes next door, Robin and Ramona are to come inside. Something about those people sets the girls on edge." Kim inhaled sharply as her husband nodded his head in assent, or perhaps just surrender. He had been the one to suggest they leave their life in the city for the safety of a small town. 1 income, a simpler life, a friendly neighborhood. Now he sat blank-eyed with his nightly scotch, probably not hearing a word she had said. "What?" she thought. "Is this any better?" After school, the girls found themselves looking for the boy. If a car drove too fast up Hemlock, they all pivoted in that direction. Only Ramona did so with dread. Playing with the Barbie furniture had lost its glamour. Finally, it was too cold to play outdoors, and they pulled out board games and makeup at the Kellers, or cards and educational toys at the Twins. The girls were grateful for one another as one gray day rolled into the next. After the incident, Harley hadn't come outside for a week, and when she did, her face was swollen, and they were all afraid to approach her. Salem told them that Harley decided she didn't like boys anymore. As for the boy, Salem didn't know if he'd gone to jail or not. Neither of the neighbors were sure of what they had seen, and they hadn't observed the boy carve words into the sidewalk. Had those words been there a long time? No one seemed to know. The biggest change began the week before Christmas, when a ruddy-faced guy driving an electrician's truck arrived. Salem and her mother shivered on the porch as he and Harley loaded up the truck with open boxes of belongings and plastic bags of clothes. Her father, Taylor imagined. Not long after, Salem and her mother moved, and a new family with 3 kids arrived, installing a big black trampoline that filled up the side yard. Robin knew without asking that even when it was warm, she and Ramona would not be allowed to jump on that trampoline. All that remained was the scar on Morgan's right ear, a little white line that no one could see if they didn't stand close enough to whisper. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lizanne. Hey, how many of you out there have never been to a literary reading like this before? How many are here for something like this first? Check that out. Cool. Good stuff, isn't it? Dirty words and fudge and Facebook, all kinds of good stuff. Before we continue with our next reader, I do want to point out that following the reading, there is a reception just across the hallway in the Heritage Room. There'll be some food, some snacks, some cold water, some hot cider, I believe, which seemed like a good idea back when it used to get cold in February. Hopefully it'll still taste good tonight. Up next, I actually feel a little silly introducing Laurie Baker Martin to a PSU audience because she comes from a family that includes 4 generations of Pitt State graduates. I think maybe she should be introducing me to Pitt State. So that's Laurie, her grandmother, her father, and her daughter. Have I got that right? Which is pretty darn impressive. Laurie completed her bachelor's and master's degrees here at Pitt State before earning a Master of Fine Arts degree from the University of Iowa's Writers' Workshop, where she was awarded a prestigious award, the Truman Capote Fellowship. To top that, her collection of stories written at Iowa received the Writers' Workshop's Clark Fisher Ansley Award for Excellence in Fiction. She's also received awards from Kansas Voices and from the Cincinnati Review Schiff Prose Contest. Her work has been published in literary journals such as Prick of the